Welcome. Welcome to Satsang. Someone has asked, and there have been quite a few like it, but I wanted to go in depth, and I'll try to go slow also when explaining this, because apparently quite a few people are confused about this. Okay, this particular one is the best voiced one, so I'm going to read this. He said, "Dear Burt, I've been listening to your video satsangs for the past year, and they have transformed my life. However, there is still confusion when you say there's nothing to learn, nothing to figure out, or even to think about. Can you find a way to explain all this in a way to make it clearer for me?" There are two words that will make it a little clearer and will go into it a little more. This is something that I've realized myself. And it is this: you are a human being. And it says it all. So first, though, in order to go into, we have to discuss being. Being has to be discussed first. Why? Because the human came from being. Just like a spider weaves a web out of itself. Okay? You need a spider before you can have a web. Okay? Similarly, you need being in order to have a human. Okay? But being itself is so misunderstood, because you see, being has no locality. Being doesn't have time and space. So when a child first learns to say me or I, immediately he identifies with the body. But prior to thinking he is me, prior to thinking he's the body, prior to walking, he's aware. And that awareness is universal. It is the very nature of being. See, being is emptiness. Being is a great void. Being is nothingness. But when we think in terms of nothingness, we think in terms of a vacuum, because the mind can't conceive of nothingness. But nothingness is also everything. See, another facet is that the human thinks in duality, but we'll talk about that later. The being has no duality. The being is complete. The being is whole. And because it is whole, it doesn't see differences. For example, if I were to ask you now, picture something small. Okay, show me something small. Okay, something small. Okay, now show me something big. Something big. Okay? But if you ask a being to show you something small or something big, it can't relate to it. Because to being is. It has no comparison, it has no size, it has no time, it has no space, but yet it is who it is being aware. You know, you are aware now, you're aware that I'm talking, you're aware that you're sitting there, but this awareness is being itself. Once we begin to understand being, even minutely, this is when we actually wake up to that which never changes. I'd like to go a little deeper here to get some glimpses of this. Gosh, talking about being. Picture a pot, you know, where you make soup and your vegetables and all this. Okay, what is the utility of a pot? What is the utility of a pot?
To hold.
It's emptiness. It's emptiness. The utility, the usage of that pot is not the holding of it. The holding of it is to give it structure, to contain stuff inside it. But its utility, its usefulness is the space. Got it? It's emptiness. Okay. Now, the emptiness, the pot itself is the container. What you put into it is the content. Okay. So the best way to start beginning to understand being, which there is no after or before, it has no beginning or end. I mean, it defies logic and mind, because it has no duality. It just is. It never was born, it will never die, and yet it is who you are. There's nothing else but that. So the being is the container. Now when Eckhart Tolle, which is brilliant, he wrote a book, The Power of Now, and I mean he changed many people's lives. It was meant to be, but prior to that he experienced his real state, and he would sit on a bench for hours just sitting in ecstasy. And then eventually he was ready to write the book, but everything was done through him. And you read the book and you can see that very clearly. Now the reason I'm mentioning Eckhart Tolle, not only because I like him, but also because he did a wonderful job in explaining the now. But when somebody talks about the now, people always think of as the present time. Oh, you mean now, this present time? You see, and they're missing it. So therefore, let's go into the pot. The pot is the container. Its space is the container, but what you put in it are the contents. Now, the present time are contents. The content of now is this chair, Burt talking, you sitting there, this room, Mushi moving around, all this is going on. This is the present time. The moment is not the present time. The moment is. And therefore it is timeless. Okay? So now is timeless. It has no time. So when we begin to feel this now as you listen. Okay? Because you've asked, well, you know, where do we go from here? Well, there is nowhere to go. Now is forever. There's no exit to now. Now is not a time sequence. Now is not something that is born or going to die. Now is. And because of that isness, because of that being, it has nowhere to go. Because no matter where it goes, it always is. It has no beginning or end. There is no journey. You see, you read many metaphysical books and he says we are on a journey. Yes, the mind is on a journey, the ego is on a journey, the body is on a journey. But you, the spirit, is not on a journey. The spirit does not journey. The spirit is. And so only as we empty ourselves, as we enter that container by slowly getting rid of the contents, temporarily maybe, okay, or seeing beyond them, we'll see that all we are is this incredible space. This incredible space is what Jesus called the kingdom of God is within you, is what Buddha called nirvana. It is the greatest joy, the greatest ecstasy. There is nothing. So many people ask me, Bert, you never talk about meditation. So what meditation shall I do? You know, I do visualization meditation, I do affirmation meditation, I do this meditation. And I say, you cannot talk about meditation because it's not something you do. See, I meditate every day now, sometimes twice a day, but I don't plan it. It is the greatest joy in my life, okay? And it just sits, and in that sitting, you experience the being. And that being is better than anything you can think of as a pleasure, because it's the greatest joy you can ever have. In fact, the very nature of being is called Satchitananda. It means in pure consciousness is bliss. It's the highest bliss, and there is no limit to that bliss. There was a doctor, Dr. Ibn Alexander, and this man was a neuroscientist, and he talked about the brain that brings consciousness into being, and that was his philosophy at the time. He wrote books, he gave classes, he appeared in universities, he's still alive, he's still a young man in his 50s, and he gave talks of how important the brain is. Well, as fate should have it, one day he collapsed. And he was brain dead. He actually died and his brain was completely dead. And he experienced pure being. He experienced the joy and the heaven and God that he talked against in his teaching and his philosophy. And he reversed everything that he said. And he said, when he came back, his brain was functioning, his health returned, everything was perfect. This is, incidentally, you can research it on Google, okay? Dr. Ibn Alexander, okay? He's a very articulate man. He loves talking about it, and he loves saying how he was wrong before and now he has experience. But what is important about being is that many people think that they have, now they know because they've read so much, or they've been with a lot of teachers, or they listened to a lot of satsangs, or they've studied a lot and they think they know, but all they know are really words. Because the real knowing has nothing to do with the language. The knower is being itself. That's how you know. When you know through being, nobody can argue with you. Nobody can go against you. Nobody can say you are wrong, because you say, okay, that's fine. Okay, but it won't do anything, because once you know, you know. Just like right now, you know you exist. Okay, who is it that knows? You think you do. No, it is your awareness that knows you exist. Because awareness recognizes itself. Awareness, pure awareness, is being. What you know in being, you take so much for granted, you don't even question it. But you don't realize how much knowing we can have when we begin to go into that knowing. Back to pure awareness, okay? Whenever you see yourself as pure awareness, at that very moment itself, there is healing happening, spiritual, mental, physical, emotional, or whatever. So we bring our attention to it, and this is why Lester Levinson came with that method, which I like to bring in every satsang. Always love everything about you. Love everything. Because what is fear? See, when we feel fear, we are caught in it. We go into horrific state, you know. And but what if at that moment, for a moment, you become aware of it, that you're feeling that? Because awareness, see, awareness is aware of consciousness. The fear is consciousness. Awareness is, and it can be aware of what consciousness is happening. So the moment you become aware, even for a few moments, not only you heal that fear, but you also heal all the repercussions from that fear. All the damages that it can do to the body and to the mind. You see? So when you bring awareness into anything, you bring tremendous transformation. And that's how we transform. So every time you find, oh, I was thinking this, okay, you might say, but it wasn't very negative. Should I change it? Yes. If you catch yourself thinking, stop. Because all thinking leads you away from pure being. You see, it doesn't matter even if it's a good thinking. Yeah.
Can you zoom into that part where you said, bring awareness to everything? Because awareness is already in everything.
Yes.
So, like, what is it that you're really...
Conscious awareness. Okay,
awareness.
yeah. You bring conscious, because conscious and awareness, consciousness is everything, is it energy. Okay, it's energy that is happening all the time. So you have more or less some, not really control, but you can at that moment say, yes, I know what is happening. I can look at it. Was that?
Are you talking about attention?
Attention. Attention. So you bring your attention, okay, of what is happening at that moment. That activates the awareness. Awareness is always there, but awareness is always living in the background because we think we are the mind. We think we are our thoughts. People are walking down the street. I like him, I don't like him, this is bad, this is good, like this, like that. My God! They're living on from their thoughts all the time. They have no awareness at all. Awareness is pure love. Some people never live from a pure awareness, but when you bring pure awareness, you become like a child. You see? You see a pure child full of bliss, full of joy, happy for no reason at all. Because happiness and pure awareness and love are the same. So they're just different words meaning the same thing. So every time you bring pure awareness into anything at all, you are not only purifying yourself and healing yourself, but you're actually expanding. So now let's talk about everything is energy. Okay, the body is all energy. Consciousness is all energy. Now, how do you bring love into everything? By understanding the following. There is no good or bad. There is no emotional love or fear. Okay? There is only a movement of energy. Now, when you become like this, that's called contraction of energy. Got it? Okay, that's called inferiority, that's called feeling like a victim, that's called being afraid, that's called cowering, that's called running away, that's called many, many things. That's called contraction of energy. And then there is expansion of energy. The expansion of energy means that right now, instead of being contracted, you are expanding. And you can expand it to the point where you don't know where you're lost. Because right now, where does your consciousness, where is your consciousness? Up to here? Up to there? If you look at the sky, is it up to there? Is it up in the stars? It's everywhere. It has no marginal point. It is everywhere. Okay, so now when you start expanding something, and you keep on expanding it, you are actually turning fear into love. Okay, so what we call negativity, it doesn't matter what it's called, it's all fear. Okay, it's contraction of energy. You can call it guilt, you can call it shame, you can call it feeling like a victim, you can call it whatever you want to call it. It all comes back the same thing, contraction of energy. You're feeling small. Okay? When you expand that very expansion itself does not change it, but it uses the very same energy that was now contracted, that now is fear, uses that very same energy and it turns it into love. How does it turn it into love? Okay, you look at the sky and you see a cloud. And that cloud starts gathering a lot of moisture. And it becomes very, very dark. It becomes so dark that it hides the sun. And when it hides the sun, you don't see the light anymore. And you think, oh, it's dark, there is no sun. But now let's imagine we do the following. Let's imagine we go up to that cloud and start expanding it from its darkness. What happens when you expand that dark cloud? It becomes lighter, right? In fact, it begins to rain because it's full of moisture. So as you open it more and more and more, it begins to rain, which is crying, getting release. Okay, and it becomes lighter and lighter, and now the sun is peeking through that cloud. And now we see the sun. And we see also that the sun has always been there. This is what happens with you. When you are contracted, you are in total darkness. You feel alone, you feel unwanted, you feel unloved, you feel you're not good enough, you feel guilty, you feel all kinds of things. That's what makes people sometimes go batty, end up in a mental home or suicide, because it feeds on itself. The moment you resist something, it becomes greater. But what if you expand it? Then you're using it to grow. And so as humans, we have a great privilege. And this is why we have to teach this to everyone. That whenever you think fear, it's okay to feel fear. If you feel anger, it's okay to feel anger. But learn to embrace that anger and that fear. Like we discussed it last time. Okay? Welcome it. I had a woman and she was very, very sad. And I said to her, I said, do you want me to help you with that sadness? And she said, okay. And I said, okay, now you are sad. Where are you feeling it? And she said, I feel it here in my chest. I said, do you want that sadness to go away? And she said, yes and no. I said, okay then. I said, say to the sadness, I love you, sadness. And whether you go or not, whether you stay or not, it doesn't matter, I love you, sadness. She's expanding sadness. And I asked her to go like this. And I love you, sadness. Okay? And I said, how do you feel? She said, oh, I feel good. She started to laugh. All sadness was gone, just like that. You see? So what did she do? She didn't resist sadness. She didn't say, this is wrong, I shouldn't have it. She was feeling like that before, until we talked about it. But then we brought love into it. So that's what the pure being sees. Pure beings never sees anything as wrong. Never.
So a person who exhibits symptoms of illness, say who's sick, do you see that as being unaware of the
It could be,
perfection of
it could be. You see, when we talk about that, we cannot really make judgments as what is bringing it about, because karma is something, a very, very hard thing to decipher. Karma is a law of cause and effect. Okay? Now, for example, a child could be born blind, could be born deformed, maybe the mother took drugs or whatever. That's not important here or there, because even the fact that the mother took drugs means the child chose her to be his mother anyway. So in other words, there's so much to go into it. But see it this way, that nothing happens by chance. Okay? But don't see someone as sick and say, oh, they are sick because they're not aware. Because that's a judgment. And when you make that judgment, it can fall upon you too. We cannot judge. We cannot judge anything that a person has. But one thing to know is that whenever there is any imperfection, okay, you can still allow that imperfection to be as part of perfection. Because whatever is happening, nothing happens by chance, because life is intelligent. God is love. Life is intelligent. It is infinite intelligence. That's what Ramana Maharshi used to call it, infinite intelligence. So when you respect the intelligence that is life, you don't say, oh, he's sick because of this, because of that, he deserves it or doesn't deserve it. You see, when the moment we make judgments like that, we're actually impinging it on ourselves. So, but what we can do is to see that nothing happens by chance. Therefore, they have imperfection. This is something that they need to work with. And they can learn from it by expanding it. Now, whether they heal it or not, that's not up to them. It's up to divine intelligence that knows perfection. It never makes a mistake. Divine intelligence never makes a mistake. Okay? All we can do is use whatever is in us and then make the most of it by loving it and seeing it, well, this is what I need because that's what I have. You see? And by using it in trust, that this is teaching me what I need to learn. Maybe I don't know what I need to learn. Most of the time we don't anyway, because our mind doesn't have that knowledge.
So all they need to do is allow it.
That's it. It's that simple. That simple. You see? Yeah.
That's the perfection right there.
That's the perfection right there. When Jesus walked around and he saw a person sick or something like this, he says, you're okay. Sin no more. And they'll be okay. His presence was so incredibly magnetic, so powerful, that even his words created that healing force, you see, because he saw perfection. He saw it so clearly. He never, see, when a person awakens, they never see anything wrong. Doesn't matter what anybody does, they don't see wrong. Only the human sees wrong, because it sees duality, you see. So in our job, in order to move back to pure being, we need to start expanding all contraction. Suppose right now, you know, we get a new person coming into satsang here, sitting here, and they feel kind of, they don't want to talk, you know, they feel kind of self-conscious. Okay? Now immediately the people who look at him or her, they might judge it as, oh, they're afraid, and they're this, and they're this. The point is that what if we send them love and see them as perfect? And before you know it, if you send them love at that moment and really see them that they're contracting, but you expand them in your mind, you find all of a sudden they're paying attention. You might find some changes happening. If your energy is so sincere and loving that you can actually bring a change in another, you see? So that's the beauty of bringing awareness into something. And awareness means to see everything as perfect, always perfect. The body might not seem perfect, but you see it as perfect. Like there's, what's his name? Larry Crane. Larry Crane was a very devoted follower of Lester Levinson. And he's still alive now. He's in his 70s, and he's doing wonderful work. And yeah, and he there was a man in the, and you see it on video, on TV, on computer, in YouTube. And then this man was about, I don't know, 20 years in the wheelchair, you know. And yeah, and Lester Levinson, not Lester Levinson, Larry Crane said to him, if I ask you to stand up, do you think it's possible? And he looked at Larry, and Larry was very serious, and he really meant it. And this man started to get up, because he figures, well, he wouldn't be telling me this unless he meant it. And that was enough. And he started to walk. It's right on video. Right on video. He's walking on, you know, like this, you see, but he walked. And he said, from now on, the limitations that you accept are the limitations you suffer from. But, he says, always see yourself as perfect. And always leave it to the intelligence of God, which is all love. All perfect love. And when you allow that love to take over, then love will take care of you. You see? Now many people are giving abundance courses now, thinking of abundance, and becoming money conscious, you know. And I don't see that as a very good thing, because when you start becoming money conscious, you begin to forget a little bit about the real values. Money is okay, money is a wonderful thing, okay, it's nice to have it, but you start thinking, I want more and more. Now, the false self has taken over, and it's so easy to fall into that trap, you see. But the point is that whenever you need money, the money will always be there. Always. Because it doesn't matter whether it's in the form of money, whether it's in the form of health, whether it's in the form of whatever. When you surrender and you bring awareness into it, that very awareness of perfection itself becomes the alignment with the force. See, think of it this way. Think of it as, because electromagnetic energy is the greatest force in the world, in the universe. Electromagnetic energy. Everything is electromagnetic energy. Thoughts are really, electromagnetic. Okay, everything is electromagnetic. So we're all connected. We don't see this connection, but if somebody is actually clairvoyant, they can see how we're all, you know, even you listening to me and I am talking to you, this is all energy that's reaching your ears, because there's no space in between. Everything is full, right? Anyway. So everything is electromagnetic. Now, when we begin to see that everything is electromagnetic, then we can imbue that electricity by the force of belief itself in perfection. And the moment we do that, he wants something. I think he wants some food. Okay, this is how he talks. Anyway, so everything is electromagnetic. What was I?
With the belief.
What's that?
You can imbue the electric.
That's right.
With the
That's
belief.
with the belief. Right. And you can affect people. You can affect everything through this electromagnetism. So therefore, if you your electromagnetism is such that is aligned with the universal energy, okay? By seeing the perfection of being, by seeing that this is who you are, then there's nothing that you could want. Suppose you want a particular job. You want to impress a boss, or you want a certain amount of money, and in your heart you don't think that much about it. You just know you're going to be taken care of no matter what. You might not get exactly what you thought you were going to, but you'll always get something that will help you along in the way you want. You see? It's not by wanting it, but by seeing it. See the difference between wanting and seeing? Okay, Lester Levinson said never say I want something. Say, I have that something. Wanting and having are opposites. Okay? If you say, I want to be happy, chances are you're not going to be happy because you're thinking happiness is something outside of you. But if you say, I am happy, yeah, right now, okay? Right now, be happy. Aren't you happy right now? No, it's true. The moment you say, yeah, I have happiness, and you're happy. There's no magic, there's no achievement, there's no big deal. You have it. But if you doubt it for a moment, then you're gonna think you're gonna achieve it. You have to be doing, you have to be good, you have to do this, you have to do that to be happy. You see what I mean? But you have whatever you assume you have. Right now, I am love. You just say, yeah, right now you have love. And you feel it.
So if somebody
That
experiences
instant.
a health problem or a slight health problem, would it be better just to, instead of focusing on it and trying to find out more about it, just kind of, well, I have health.
Yes.
Would that be better
Yes,
way to?
yes, yes. See yourself as perfect and that God is taking care of you because God is love. And so see that whatever you have, you're going to go through that period. You know, it takes its own and then you're okay again. You see? But never question it. Never question that you're going to be okay because you see yourself as perfect. You see? The point is not to be concerned. Not
That's
to
what
be
I'm trying to
concerned
ask.
about the body, because if you become concerned about the body, then a lot of stuff starts happening to you.
Because most people will go to the books and look this up and look
Yes,
that up,
I know, this is happening all the
It
time.
could be this, it could be that, and I'm kind of
That's how
feeling
hypochondriacs are developed.
perhaps that could contribute to the problem.
Yes, 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 yeah, yeah. Okay, so, yeah.
I can only be as conscious as I can be in this moment from who I am, right?
Yes, but who you are is unlimited.
Well, no, I'm talking about the human and the being.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So is it awareness that can see that
Yeah.
that completeness of wherever I am at?
Wherever you are at is always perfect. If you see
Well, yeah,
yourself,
but
I am
yes,
at a particular, and you're seeing it as limited, that's your ego looking at that. Wherever you are at is always perfect. And you keep seeing that as perfect. Now I am walking, and I'm going there, and I'm going there, and it's perfect, because that's what's meant to be. I just don't question anything, and don't care about anything, and don't be concerned about anything. Know that the being that you are is doing everything through you. You see? And you live with that. If you try to figure out where you're at and how you are and with limitation, this is the ego playing games with you, wants you to fall and think limited. Never think yourself as limited. You see? Did you know the truth? Everybody is awake, but they don't know it. You see? It's true. But everybody is awake because you are pure awareness right now. But the thinking, the religious training that we've had, our traditions, our parental training, they gave us limitation and we believed it. Just like doctors, you know, they go to somebody and says, oh, you've got 2 months to live or you've got 1 year to live. And the moment that guy believes it, it happens. But Lester Levinson didn't. And he took it as a challenge because he was a very aware man. You know, he was a physicist, an engineer. You know, a very intelligent man. Even though he was not happy, but he had the ability to look. You see, and he started looking for the first time in his life. You know, so that's the whole point. Is that we are such beautiful being. You know. We're not separate at all, you know. We seem to be separate bodies, But in truth, we are the same being. The being that you are and the being that I am is that same being. That's what love is. And then when you begin to feel that totally, more and more and more, your false self begins to fall away, and you begin to find yourself so happy for no reason at all. You don't want to change anything, you don't want to shift anything at all. Just it's so incredible, so beautiful. You know, people are asking me all the time about meditation, and this is something I don't want to talk about. Because the moment I tell them, watch your breath, do this, do that, then they think of it as meditation. No, that was just a technique to help you. But meditation itself is not a doing. Meditation is, you know, most of the time between clients or during the day, it's sunny, it's beautiful, I go to the back, I go and then I sit, and that's it. I don't say, well, I'm going to meditate now. And I just sit. And I'm as high as a kite. Really. And it's becoming better and better all the time. You see? So you don't achieve it, you don't do anything, you just sit in pure awareness. But when thoughts come, and this is all you can do, see them as thoughts and release them. Keep releasing your thoughts. Never think about anything.
By releasing your thoughts, you mean just allowing them, just observe them pass?
Yeah, be aware of them and say to yourself, I release them. And just be. Just be. Just be. You know. You know what it means to be. Just be here. You know, you're not being this or that. You just be. You see? And the moment that comes very clear to you, then you find that the being is taking over. And people say, oh, you've been such a great hostess. Oh, you've been so charming. Oh, thank you. Oh, you were smiling all the time. You were so wonderful. And you said, me? I was like that? Yeah, because you were in being, you see? It just comes because you are not thinking of you. But there is something that is very repulsive. It's called self-consciousness. See, that's what ego is. You become self-conscious. You know, people look at you and you think that they're thinking something bad. But when you love yourself, if somebody looks at you, they say, oh, they must think how wonderful I am. But you don't think anything negative, in other words. You see? You don't take anything personal, in other words. Oh, that's another thing that you can do in releasing too. Okay? Whenever you think something is personal, and you're being personal all the time, and 90% of the people are personal all the time, okay? Just embrace it and expand it. It's okay. I was very personal, and I embrace it, I embrace it, I allow it, I allow it. And the moment you do, something is aware that this was not really you. This was assumed you. You see? You can only deal with something when you love it. But the moment you hate it, you resist it, it keeps repeating even worse. You see? Okay, so no questions?